It is in Job chapter 1, verses 6 through 12 that we find, "Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. And the Lord said to Satan, 'From where have you come?' So Satan answered the Lord and said, 'From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking back and forth on it.' Then the Lord said to Satan, 'Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on all the earth? Blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil.' So Satan answered the Lord and said, 'Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not made a hedge around him, around his household, around all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions have increased in the land. But now,'" here it is, "'but now stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will surely curse you to your face.' And the Lord said to Satan, 'Behold, all that he has is in your power, only do not touch his person.' So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord." In this story, we find the very tragic events of what Satan did to Job. That he was, in fact, walking about like a roaring lion looking to devour. He was looking for an opportunity to devour. It's not a pretty sight. It is in this story that we find something so vicious that not only did Satan take all of his possessions from him, but in one brief moment killed all of his children as well. Can you imagine the heartbreak? We find a great parallel between Job and a man by the name of Horatio Spafford. Now I find it in my notes. Horatio had a very similar experience in that in one swift moment, all of his children were killed in a horrible boating accident. Once again, the pain that would cause, the anxiety, I can't imagine. The parallel continues, though, because of the outcome. It's amazing, the stories of these two, that in this moment when Job was in his greatest time of despair, he had heard that all of his possessions had been taken, that his children had been killed. And instead of cursing God, as Satan said he would do, the Bible tells us that Job fell to his knees and worshiped God. It's interesting that Horatio did the same thing. That in his moment of deepest sorrow, that he understood that God was not the originator of pain and suffering. That God was not the originator of sorrow and heartbreak. But that came from an enemy of God. And that as great as the enemy was, that God was still greater. And that God had a plan to remove him someday, whether that be soon or eventually in eternity, to remove him from this heartbreak and to restore him. And it caused him to sit down and pen the words of a beautiful song that simply states, "Despite what's happening, it is truly well with my soul."